In Pit Lane is proudly brought to you by the Australian Sports Sedan Association of Victoria. Round 5 of the Grunt Performance Victorian Sports Sedan Championship. And with thanks to Slipstream Race Graphics.
Unusual episode of In Pit Lane. This is not our usual studio, and I'm sure you noticed that I'm not usual host Brett Ramsey, but he will be appearing in tonight's episode a little bit later on. Now, tonight's episode is very special because if you're watching this on Facebook and YouTube Live, this show is basically yours. We need your input tonight, so if you have any questions about literally anything, comment below and we will answer your questions. You can talk about supercars, F1, motorbikes, the meaning of life, basic anything you can think of. But before that, here's this week's wrap-up of what's been happening in the world of motorsport.
Victory to Chase Elliott in the latest round of the NASCAR Monster Cup Series at Dover Speedway. Kevin Harvick won the first 2 stages of the race, but when most of the lead cars pitted under caution, Elliott decided to stay out. Another caution after this crash involving Eric Almirola, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr. and Alex Bowman pushed the race into overtime and saw Elliott hold out Denny Hamlin for the win. The victory gives Elliott the lead in the playoffs ahead of Kevin Harvick going into next weekend's round at the Superspeedway at Talladega. Lewis Hamilton edged closer to the 2018 World Championship with a win in last Sunday's Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka. There were no need for team orders this week as Hamilton led all the way to lead home teammate Valtteri Bottas in another Mercedes 1-2. Red Bull driver Max Verstappen finished third after an eventful race where he made contact with both of the Ferraris. His teammate Dan Ricciardo had the drive of the race, storming through from 15th on the grid to finish 4th. It was a terrible weekend for the prancing horse. Kimi Raikkonen recovered from his contact with Verstappen to finish 5th, 1 spot ahead of Sebastian Vettel, whose championship hopes seem to be disappearing with every new race. A crowd of over 100,000 people saw Honda's Marc Marquez narrowly beat Andrea Dovizioso to win the inaugural MotoGP of Thailand at the Chang International Circuit. The race went right down to the checkered flag with Marquez edging past the Ducati rider on the final corner to take the narrow victory. Yamaha's Maverick Vinales was third. Marquez now holds a huge 77-point lead in the title race as the championship moves to Japan ahead of the Australian Grand Prix at Phillip Island on October 29th. Porsche is showing its all-electric Mission E concept car as part of a brand pop-up display in Sydney this week. Porsche Cars Australia's Tony Andrzejewski says that the Future Lab brings together the brand's 70-year history with a look at the future direction with the Mission E concept.
Well, we're here in Barangaroo, Sydney. It's an ideal place to showcase the car. It's young, it's vibrant, and people are thinking about the future. And that's what Porsche has to offer with the Mission E.
Ingo Appel, head of product and smart mobility at Porsche, said that the Future Lab display is a look towards an exciting new model to be introduced in 2020.
So we obviously announced a couple of months ago the production car, at least the naming of the production car, which is the Taycan. And obviously we hope that a lot of experiences, lessons learned of the Mission E concept car will go into the Taycan. For example, most of the technology, like 800-volt technology, etc., the performance figures, everything that was announced with the Mission E car, concept car, will come as such in the production car.
The Porsche Future Lab is open through till October 21st at Barangaroo in Sydney. Meanwhile, Melbourne will once again play host to Motorclassica at the historic exhibition buildings in Carlton. This year's event will pay tribute to 90 years of the Australian Grand Prix, with special guest Australia's 1980 world champion Alan Jones. American muscle cars of the 1960s will also feature, as well as the Le Mans GTE Ford GT that ran last weekend at Mount Panorama. Motorclassica has become one of the highlights of the Melbourne motoring scene and starts this Friday and runs all weekend. It was a case of deja vu all over again at last weekend's NHRA round in Dallas. Top fuel points leader and local favourite Steve Torrens made it 3 rounds straight, beating Terry McMillan in the final. Despite suffering a broken collarbone in last round's fiery crash, Robert Height powered his Camaro to his second consecutive win to defeat JR Todd in the funny car final. Pro Stock's Tanner Gray grabbed his second consecutive victory during the countdown to the championship in his Camaro to defeat number 1 qualifier Jed Coughlin Jr. in the final round. And in Pro Stock motorcycle, Ellie Tonglet also backed up his last round win, beating his team owner Jerry Savoy.
Tonight we've got a very special guest, and it's a little bit unusual because normally he's in this chair, but tonight we have normal host of In Pit Lane, Brett Ramsey.
Hello, viewer. Do I look at you or do I look at the camera?
You just look at that camera over there.
What's the red light for? There's a red light on the top of that. What's that for? It's very pretty.
It's very pretty. Just stare at that red light.
Okay, I can
stare
do
at that red light.
I can
like
do
a
that.
moth.
Like a moth. What's the thing about moths at the moment? It seems to be they're the meme of the month, these moths.
The meme of the month. You get those towards the end of the year, the memes of the year, like each month, filled in each meme of the year.
Ah, right. So
Anyway.
you're a young person, so you
I'm a
know
young
these
person.
sorts of things.
So I think we should get down to some real business with Formula One.
There's real
business.
no, Formula One is real business.
Formula One is real business.
That
It's
is
a real business with real money. So Suzuka, Lewis Hamilton is 8 points away from winning his championship with however many races remaining for. Can he win his 5th world title?
Oh, I think it's inevitable he's going to, unless something really horrible happens, which you don't wish on anybody, of course. But yeah, I think they are dominating. But it's funny, you see people on social media like saying, "Oh, I don't watch Formula One anymore because Mercedes are dominating," and all the rest of it. They're not dominating as much as Lotus did in sort of the late 1970s. They're not dominating as much as Ferrari has sometime in the past. They're not dominating as much as Williams did at one stage in the 1980s. I mean, you go through cycles like this in Formula One, and I mean to sort of say, "Oh, but Mercedes are dominating." Somebody's going to dominate, and this year it just happens to be Mercedes, and so they should. They're spending probably more money than anybody else, and they've got 2 of the best drivers.
What's happened to Sebastian Vettel recently? Like in the Red Bull team, he was so cool under pressure, he barely ever cracked, and now he's gone to Ferrari, and he seems to be not dealing with it. But then off track, he seems calm and just normal.
I think it's probably more in terms of like whether the Ferrari has cracked. Because if you have the sad and very sudden death of Sergio Marchionne has I think had an effect on that whole team. They've reverted to type. I mean, Ferrari were for many years famous for being sort of the Marx Brothers of international motorsport. They were fun, they were chaotic, and when the pressure got going, they sometimes sort of cracked under the pressure. And I think that's what's happening now. They've made a few mistakes here and there. So. But yeah, I mean, good luck to Lewis Hamilton, and it'll all be wrapped up probably at the next round.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it will. So, for those of you watching on Channel 31, we're going to take a quick break right now. But for those on YouTube and Facebook, stick around. Now, sponsorship. We've been sponsored by the Victorian Sports Sedan Association.
Yes.
How has sponsorship helped In Pit Lane over the years?
Well, there wouldn't be an In Pit Lane if it wasn't for sponsors. People don't understand. RMITV, for people who are wondering, RMITV is a not-for-profit organisation. We are a genuine community television organisation. We're registered as a not-for-profit group with the Australian Taxation Office. I can guarantee you that there's definitely no profit anywhere near this show, that's for sure. But there are still, even though everyone gives their time for nothing, including me, everybody, Jack, everybody gives their time for nothing. But there are still costs. I mean, there's caviar, there's hookers, there's drugs, there's all sorts of, there's vital things within the world of television that we need, large amounts of money for. And we're very lucky, and to the enormous credit, the Australian Sports Sedan Association, like last year we put out a thing, we tried to get a Patreon thing going, and we tried to, and so many categories and so many people over there said, "Oh, we'd love to be able to support the show, but we can't." And we got the only people who put up their hands and said, "Hey, listen, like the teams are coming back this year." With the sports fans, I didn't approach them. They contacted me and said, "If you guys are coming back, we'd love to be on board and give you a hand." And yeah, we wouldn't be back on air for either the previous season or for this season without the Australian Sports Sedan Association. And they're, of course, ready to wrap up their year with the biggest race of the year, which is the Phillip Island 50K at Island Magic. And we've been plugging Island Magic for years and years. It is one of the great meetings of the year. So we called it sort of schoolies for petrol heads because it's just got a real party atmosphere, and this year there's the National Sports Sedan Series will be joining the guys from the Victorian Championship. So you'll have all of the people like Rick Newman and Chaz Talbot, Graham Gilliland, who was here a couple of weeks ago, Bruce Henley, all of those guys, and they'll be joined by Michael Robinson, by Tony Ricciardello, Phil Crampton, a whole bunch of people, Kerry Bailey in John Goulet's Audi probably. So yeah, it'll be a fantastic meeting. The weather's usually about as good as it ever gets at Phillip Island. So it's on I think it's on pretty much the last weekend, 24th and 25th of November. If you're looking for some really good value for money, great weekend. Island Magic is just sensational. Head on down there. It'll be pack a picnic lunch and head on down. It's a great meeting, and the Phillip Island 50K plate is going to, as always, will be an absolute highlight. And it's been won by people like Peter Brock, and a whole bunch of really big names have won that race over the years. So yeah, as I say every week, we thank the Australian Sports Sedan Association for their ongoing support of In Pit Lane and from and RMITV Student Television. So thank you guys, it's really appreciated.
It certainly is, and we'll be chatting to you a bit more about the show and the history of the show in the third segment coming up. So stay tuned.
I can't go.
You can't go. No, not yet. You need to stick around.
I had something planned.
Did you?
Yeah, I was there. I've got an appointment. I've got to leave. I'm sorry.
At 9:30 on a Tuesday night.
Sorry, mate. You're on your own now. I'll see you later.
Would you mind sticking around for the next 20 minutes? Can you spare 20 minutes?
Look, you've got such a nice smile. You've won me over. All right, we'll do that.
So we'll go back to our Channel 31 viewers. Are we going to do a countdown?
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
This countdown brought to you by Peter Johnson.
Welcome back to In Pit Lane on Channel 31, and we're joined by our special yet not so special guest, Brett Ramsey, because he's here every week.
Gee, could talk about naming it with faint praise. Special but not special.
There was good praise in there, but you're here every week. Just like me, but I'm not shown on every week.
No. We bring you out in a limited edition. You're a limited edition, like strange flavoured potato chips.
The gravy chip.
The gravy chip.
The Vegemite chip.
Do you know what they've got now?
What?
Now they've got a special burger sauce flavoured.
The Coles ones.
Yes. I wasn't going to give Coles a plug, but seeing we have Coles, if you're watching. A box. There's about 20 of us here every week, if you wouldn't mind. Because
they reckon that this is really off topic, In Pit Lane Unplugged, that Coles Big Mac sauce, or special sauce, is meant to be exactly like the Big Mac sauce on Big Mac.
Well, I assumed that, but they can't, of course, use that.
The Big Mac
sauce. Have you had them?
No, I haven't.
No, neither have I.
I haven't even had the sauce.
No, I'm not really keen. I'm not really keen on McDonald's crap anyway. So what the hell? But I don't think they're a sponsor of Channel 31, and if they are, who cares?
So Bathurst was on the weekend, biggest race of the year.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you catch any of it?
I did catch some of it. Yes. In fact, I caught most of the race. Yes.
Some old bloke won it. Two old blokes won it, actually.
I really love the fact, somebody who was the kid. And the thing was, Craig was on this program when he was about sort of, 18 or 17 or something like that.
Before I was born.
Yeah, probably, yes. Thank you for reminding me, Jack, before you were born. And so Craig's been with us, and he was always the kid, and now they're saying about, the old guys won at Bathurst. But I was... obviously feel for Dave Reynolds and Luke Ewell and a couple of really nice guys, and I don't know what the hell happened there. We might talk about that in a moment, but it was so good for both Craig and for Steve Richards, two of the nicest guys in there. We've had them on the show sort of on and off over the years, and some people you have them on in their early days and they forget about it, and you go and you see them and they just they don't even give you a time. Steve and Craig are always, like really, really great guys. And it was fabulous. It's fabulous to see them get up and win. So it was a good story in terms of like promoting the race too, because it probably needed something. Because I don't know, it just doesn't have the sort of the impact that it used to have particularly in terms of the mainstream media.
Yeah, well, no, that was number 7 for Craig, number 5 for Richo. When it's uncertain if Stephen Richards is going to be on the grid next year. Hopefully he is. He definitely deserves to be.
They would be mad not to.
Yeah,
somebody
I
would
agree.
be insane not to pick Stephen up.
So can Craig match Brock?
Yeah, I think he can. Well, when you look at it, I mean, he's probably going to be teamed again with Jamie Whincup, who's one of the top drivers in the top team, still in the top team, or like certainly one of the 2 top teams. If he hangs around for another 3 or 4 years, I mean, he's not that old. I mean, he's still got another probably
44.
44. So he's got, even if he only goes through to sort of 40 or 48 or something like that, he's got plenty of time left. And if he goes through into his 50s, which is quite possible. And he's not going. It's not as if he's sort of retiring completely, because he's going to, I think, be doing more stuff that Craig's made no secret. Both when he's talked to us on this show in the past, that he really wants to do some of those great international races. He wants to do more things like the Spa 24 Hours, Nürburgring, Le Mans. Of course, we've talked about that with him a few times. So I'd really like to see him get that opportunity now before he gets too old, to get out and show his skill around the world. And he'd be great for any series there, because he's just so media friendly. I mean, he learnt well from Brock. I mean, he's the heir apparent to Peter
image.
Brock. He really does. He's great with the media. He's great with the fans. Great with the sponsors. And I think he'd be a breath of fresh air if he went over to Europe and did things like Blancpain and those sorts of series, or even things like like IMSA.
So do you think if Reynolds didn't have the leg cramp, do you think Lowndes could have got him?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, that Erebus car was just going gangbusters, and Craig was certainly catching him. But I mean, how much of that was due to the fact that Dave wasn't well? And I mean, everybody in hindsight's wonderful. In looking back, it's always 2020. But the Erebus team really should have, and they acknowledge that now. Barry Ryan's already said they should have made the call. Basically, when he came in to get him out and put Luke in there, because Luke's not a slow driver. And at the very worst, I mean, okay, they might not have hung on for a win, but they might have
got a podium.
They certainly would have been in a great position for a podium.
Now, the media commitments that Dave Reynolds had during that week, was it too much, or was it more defending champion, the mental struggle to get back there and try and do it again that affected him and didn't help him sleep?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he sort of said that he couldn't sleep. It's interesting if you go into his personal page. I mean, one of his personal sponsors is Temper Mattresses, so I'd be keeping their head down if I was them. And of course, we have all seen the famous meme of the pictures of Tahan, his partner, and the comment, I wouldn't be getting much sleep either.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but
well,
seeing as you
no,
have,
I'll go there. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting because they'll examine everything now, because he's a really fit guy. He's done that race, and it wasn't really tough conditions there. I mean, Craig said, it was interesting. Craig said at the end of the race that he didn't have his cool suit wasn't working.
Craig, they didn't run it at all.
Yeah, so. And he lasted, and Dave's really fit normally. So clearly there was something underlying wrong there. Whether he had some sort of bug, I know how he felt, because if you looked last week, about halfway through the 3rd segment, I got seriously ill. Needed to be carried out myself actually, but. I think that's something that they'll look at to find out what happened with Dave. But really sad for him, but it sort of gave us that that twist and turn that Bathurst become famous for.
Well, that's we're going to take a break for our Channel 31 viewers, and we'll be back in just a minute. So now we've got to thank our other sponsor who made these awesome signs.
Once again, in terms of sponsorship thing, I mean, it wasn't like this is not really a sponsorship. They didn't really want anything much in return, but our old set was somebody had sort of got to it. It was falling. It was very old. We were looking to update it anyway. Didn't have the money, because this sort of thing is we don't have much of a budget, and what there is spent on pizza and Japanese food. So Yes, I put something out on the Facebook page, and Scott Williams and the guys from Slipstream said, "Listen, we can help you out," and they came up with this fabulous this thing. I sent them off the design, and they came up with this, and they came and installed it, and it looks, as you can see, it looks all very professional, and yeah, so thank you once again to Scott and his team at Slipstream for helping us out. We really do appreciate it, because as I said, we're not a for-profit thing. If we're going to keep going, the only thing that keeps us going is the support from the motorsport community. We're a community television show, and our community is the local motorsport community, and we need their support and their backing. So thanks to Scott and everyone at Slipstream Race Graphics for helping us out with that.
And they look fantastic as well.
They do. They look. I must admit, when I sort of sent off the files, because you don't know what they're going to look like, you send them off and you go, oh, I wonder. And then when they came in and we put them up, and I went, nah, that worked.
It's just right. So we're going to do a countdown to go back.
Yep, and you've got 7 minutes to play in the.
Ooh, 7 minutes to play. What shall we play?
6, 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to our Channel 31 viewers to In Pit Lane, and a very special edition. We're still joined by Brett Ramsey, who hasn't wandered off during the break.
No, you can't get rid of me. Just hanging around like a bad smell.
So I thought in this bit of the show we'd do a little bit.
Oh, this is the bit that worries me.
When they get the notepad out. A little bit on the show, because not a lot of people know about the show and how it started.
Lots of people know about the show.
Well, lots of people
people
who don't know you don't know about the show.
Everybody knows me, trust me.
This is my 3rd season. I'll be coming in every week, and you tell me a different story about a different person. So there's lots of stuff that we can talk about.
There is lots of stuff we can talk about.
So not a lot of people know how the show started. So if you could start there, we'll start right at the start.
Look, it's a long and tragic story, and I don't want to go into too much of it, really. Now, I was recovering from a serious injury, and I was coming from a rehab session, and there was a poster on a small poster on a bus terminal in Dandenong, and it said, "Have you ever wanted to make your own television show?" And I went, well, as a matter of fact, fly on a bus shelter wall, yes, I have. Because I'd been in the business like years and years ago, and then because of the illness and all the rest of it, I didn't. And I'd always, at the time, there wasn't anything even remotely like In Pit Lane. It was before the time of the internet, before the time of a lot of the stuff we're sort of seeing now. So I put the proposal to the people who put up the thing, which was Optus. Optus had their own cable TV network in opposition to Foxtel. And put it up to them and said, this is an idea I've got for a television show, and they said, well, okay, we'll do a pilot, and we did the pilot, and they liked the pilot, and they gave us a series, and we did 1 series, and then we did 2, and then we did 3, and what was going to be a very temporary sort of fill-in for a while. 22 years later, we're still damn well here,
and looking exactly the same.
Oh yeah, I wish.
I wasn't even born.
Yeah,
I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, no, you're not looking exactly the same.
You had the final ever studio interview with Peter Brock, which is one of my favourite things, and I've watched it a couple times on YouTube, which you can go on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel and check it out. How did that come about? Because you've told me before, but it's just pretty cool.
That is really real. I'm sort of this is letting go the story that I tell at public speaking things and car clubs and that sort of thing. But this is really weird, because what happened was, we used to have people who watched the show many, many years ago, and if you watch that interview, the Peter Brock interview, you'll notice we had our old logo we used to hang at the back of the show. And what we used to do in those days is every time we had a guest on, whoever came on as a guest, we'd get them to sign the thing. So that sign is a who's who of Australian and international motorsport. We've got everybody there. We've got internet, we've got Grand Prix drivers, we've got MotoGP people, drag racers, Sam Newman, Sarah Jo, you name it. We've got all sorts of people on the thing. We were going to change the brand. We were to put to change to this current logo. So we were going to get rid of that and retire that. And I went, who's missing? We don't have Brock's. So, and Peter was going over to Goodwood with the 48-215. So we rang him and said, could you come on? And he went, and it was funny because he said, no, look, I'm going really early in the next morning. And I said, okay, well, when you get back from Targa West, we'll catch up then. And he said, no, he said, I know you normally go live, but is there any chance you could perhaps record something later in the afternoon? Because, he said, I've got things to say, I've got things to tell you. And it's funny because Bev has said that she feels that there was something that Peter almost knew, and he was really insistent. We said, for you, Brock, anything. Yeah, of course. So we did this sort of, cut down version of the show, which was just like we're doing now, just, me and Peter in the chair. There was no script. We just talked for the half hour, and then we talked afterwards for a long time as well, to the point where we just said, Pete, we've actually got another show to do, so you've got a plane to catch, so see you later. And that was unfortunately the last we saw of him. But he was a great guy, and that's a weekend that I'm not going to forget. No, not going to forget in a hurry. That's for sure.
A lot of people can tell you the exact spot where they were when they found that news out.
Yeah, it was a massive shock to everybody.
So, who are some of the best guests that you've had over the years?
It's funny, there's certain people that we call sort of in pit lane zone. They just sort of get there. Colin Edwards was fantastic, the MotoGP rider. Because Colin came in, Colin just didn't know what the hell was going on for a while. We used to go over the pub across the road to the Oxford, which we used to call the office. And we met him over there, and he's going, you guys are going to where in 5 minutes? And we said, yeah, okay, we've got time for another drink. And he didn't get, and then at some point in the first sort of 2 minutes, he suddenly got that it wasn't being taken that seriously, and he was fantastic. He was just, so yeah, he was great. I mean, I've been so lucky. So Jack Brennan was always a wonderful person to talk to. Sterling Moss, we spoke to him at Motorclassica actually, which is on this weekend. Caught up with Sterling Moss. I've been so lucky when you think about the people that I had the opportunity to talk to. Sir John, he didn't get knighted unfortunately, which was a tragedy, a ridiculous thing. But John Surtees, Jackie X. You could go through a whole bunch of people that, world champions, Le Mans winners, all sorts of, really fantastic people over the years, and just, nice and funny people. George Vidovic in the local scene, with the old snake charmer with the python. Always, we did a show with George with his co-driver who was in a wrestling mask. He was the mask because they couldn't say it was somebody that he didn't want to let people know who was actually driving the car. So he came in with a wrestling mask, and we did the whole sort of WWE, and making his way towards the set. But George is now racing in America. He's living his dream. He always wanted to race America. He sold up everything here, and he's going there. So George, if you're watching, we've got a few people watching in America. George might be one of them. So g'day George and Maggie in the United States.
So the show's taking you to some amazing places.
Mm-hmm.
Phillip Island, one of the best racetracks in the world. Winton in Winton.
Yeah.
But the best place, Le Mans.
Le Mans, without a doubt, Le Mans. We've done some amazing. This place we've been to Inner Mongolia, to Ordos. I had two bucket list things. Le Mans was obviously the first one. For some reason, Macau Grand Prix was another. I've done both of them thanks to this program. We've done Goodwood Festival. We've been everywhere, man. So it was so lucky and so fortunate, and I've just met so many wonderful people both in and out of the thing. I've met Pete, who has a terrible affliction. He goes like that all the time.
I know he's
doing that now.
So that means we have to stop talking.
Is that what that means?
That's what that means.
22 years, and I've wondered what the hell that was.
I'm glad he didn't do that one, which is Stretch.
Oh, you don't want to see. You don't want to see that one. No.
But anyway, so seeing as we just had a little blast through the past there of In Pit Lane.
Yep.
You've been going through the archives and you found...
Well, I wasn't actually going through the archives. I was just, this sort of came... They were looking for some... I wasn't looking for some music, but this just sort of popped up from a couple of years ago. Rachel Clark, and I just thought, I said, oh, well, why don't we run that tonight? Because it was a lovely song, and it was just there, and it sort of fell into our hands. So I said, let's run that. So and Rachel's got music on iTunes and all sorts of places, and also on Facebook as well. So you can check out Rachel's music on those usual places where the young people buy their music nowadays, where they get their 78s and their phonographic records.
70 what?
There. Never mind. Ask your father. No, ask your grandfather.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight on this unusual edition of In Pit Lane.
I had nowhere else to go.
You know where else to go every Tuesday night for the past 22 years.
That's it. That's the only reason I'm here.
So
got no life at all.
Thank you everyone for watching tonight. To take us out tonight, Rachel Clark with Puzzles.
Feel like a misplaced puzzle piece, and then my lover says to me, I don't know what you need. When I'm feeling sad, well, I don't know where you're at, just lay close to me. He takes a smile from a frown, he turns my world upside down to laugh it perfectly. He doesn't always know the words to say. Lord knows I want him anyway. His eyes like the ocean, ooh, I wanna ride those waves. Love's like a mountain, I am gonna climb, no matter what it takes. And I don't need no come see, no here can find me, you know it's worth the wait. If love comes a storm, then I don't need no warning, I'll sail till the sunlight breaks. He doesn't always know the words to say. Lord knows I want him anyway. His eyes like the ocean, ooh, I wanna ride those waves. Love's like a mountain, I am gonna climb, no matter what it takes. So put another piece in, we'll see who we can be, and we'll see what this love makes. He doesn't always know which piece to play. Lord knows I want him. Lord knows I want him anyway.
Viewers, we'll be taking a short break right now. Stick with us, we'll be right back.
Cut. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.